So this video is going to release what I call a scene. A scene is just pretty much an intense fear frequency. It is an intense frequency of fear. I call it a frequency. It's not really a frequency though. It's pretty much like a very, very sharp discharge of accurate information that there is no escaping from, that you cannot refute, and it feels very overwhelming, feels very powerful. If I had to describe the feeling, I would say it's similar to what I imagine it feels like when electrical wires are fringing. That's what I imagine it feels like. So I'm gonna go over all this content right quick, and I'm going to then, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do after that, but just wanted to warn you that this video will probably terrify you. So, as it's been said, on the individual level, in order to survive, you must respond accurately to what is occurring around you and in you and all that stuff, right? So like if the conditions outside of your being is that you have a body and it needs to eat. If you don't eat, you won't survive. Stuff like that, very basic. The more of the things that you have to that you don't do, the less you are capable of surviving. And now we can say that a group that consists of individuals also consists of this rule, that these individuals still have to, even in a group, follow this rule of responding accurately to what is occurring in order to survive. And so we can then say that the entire group functions almost like an individual, in that the group cell itself must also follow this rule of having to survive accurately in response to what is occurring to stay healthy, right? And so we can establish a bit of a followable rule here, that what the individual does to another person, the environment, or the group can do onto the individual, and whatever the group does onto the individual, the environment can do onto the group. It's a pretty followable basic rule. This is a karma, golden rule, all that stuff, right? And here I have it worded: what an individual does to any part of the environment can and will do to them. What the group does to the individual, the environment will do to the group, right? And we can say this is true because on the intention plus action level, if others cannot do it to you, then why can you do it to others? A very basic question that existence kind of asks you just by it being the thing. And so, because your isolated behaviors represent themselves onto the environment, what you do influences the responsive environment, and thus the responsive environment begins to behave as you behave towards you. Meaning, whether you treat a group like this, whether you treat an individual like this, you will be challenged by the environment to make sure that those behaviors were fair. Following on, and we can put it in the simplest terms. Simplest terms being, if you were in a cold environment and you put out hot energy, you put out heat, it would be absurd to expect the environment to continue to be cold when you have added heat to it. The environment will respond to you, creating a relative exchange in which, relative to the environment, you will be cold and it will be hot. And this will be a pattern, a fluctuating pattern, continuing on and on, right? And so this is your actions coming back to you, coming back to it, coming back to you. And it's pretty much the karma system, right? And so we also have this. Sorry, I'm shaking right now. It's a lot of frustration occurring, guys. So you begin to live in response to what you do. So as the future comes, as the future heads this way and you act towards it, your actions create a path, a history that can then be tracked, that then becomes the environment, let's draw it here, that you live in, right? And oh my gosh, I'm shaking really hard. Okay, so I'm assuming this is like some people like losing grip of me or something, I'm not sure. But it becomes like your memory, and all these rules are followed, right, as a result. So, that being said, interesting question, very interesting question. Why would a person not belonging to a certain set of behavior still be subjected to a group's consequences that has that behavior? Meaning, why would a person who does not have ineffective behavior still be subjected to ineffective consequences if the group surrounding them has ineffective behaviors? Well, first, I want to say we can see that there are individual responses. Everyone has their own individual setting, their own individual reality around them that's then combined into the group reality, right? And so what this means is, regardless of how far it goes, we can see that on the individual level, your difference in actions produces a different setting for you as an individual. So it's already a thing that everybody can see. And so, under the conditions that the shared environment represents environmental responses to collective behaviors, we can say that the way you behave is what you make the environment around you. So this person would make the environment into this. This person would make the environment into this, and this person would make the environment into this. And we can see that it works in large groups. It works in groups as well. That a group of people doing that turn the environment into this at a higher rate. A group of people doing this turn the environment into this at a higher rate, and it continues on. So the question is once again, how would a person still be subjected to a group's consequences despite having separate, different behavior? Well, there are a couple of reasonable explanations. Actually, there's really only one, but here's how it goes. So let's say a person is very effective. They are behaving very effectively, and they are producing effective individual results within a cell that may have some dysfunctional behavior. The dysfunctional cell having a control dysfunction. Remember, control dysfunction is pretty much when a cell would prefer other cells be dysfunctional or more dysfunctional than them so that they can have superiority of operation around those cells. I couldn't write that all there. But so you've triggered a fear. This cell has triggered a fear in dysfunctional cells in that they are all afraid with their dysfunction, with their control dysfunction, that this cell, if it also has the same control dysfunction, will manipulate, control, and do whatever it wants to them after a while, right? Once again, I'm shaking. That's you guys. That is you guys, okay? So what happens is these surrounding control dysfunctions attempt to attack that healthy cell to prevent it from reaching a point in which it can control them out of fear of it also having a hidden control dysfunction. If we can see it like this. Oh, what the hell? Cells with... What the fuck does that say? What the fuck does that... sorry, I encrypt my handwriting because a lot of you guys think that if you read a paragraph, then suddenly you and I are equals, and I'm so sick of dealing with that. A cell with... Oh, okay. A cell with caused engineered dysfunction must rely on the surrounding group for survival. Now, because they must survive, because they must rely on the surrounding group, it also exposes, even if they were healthy, with the group causing and engineering dysfunctions for them, it exposes them to that group's consequences as a result. So relying on that group after having been engineered and caused into dysfunction exposes them to the group's dysfunctional responses from the environment. Excuse me. So what's a way that a group can do this? Well, it's obvious. A trade dysfunction, a trade blockade. Even if effective, likely the cell that is healthy still has to trade with the external environment and the group, meaning resources won't be given to it. Let's say resources are like money, food, but in this case, let's say it's a job. I'm shaking again. So this is what I mean. This is the scene right here. So let's say the dysfunction, the trait that's being blocked is a job, right? And we know that if an individual, even at our rate of existence, if an individual, even if they are the smartest, healthiest person alive, without any ability to take care of themselves, their survival would be reduced unless they begin using their intelligence to manipulate the people around them into getting what they want. But we know that if they do that, the control dysfunction group will claim, see, they're using their intelligence to manipulate people. That's why we need to get rid of it. And so, really, this individual, once they're blockaded like that, only has the real choice is to just try and survive as long as they can as they decay into the controlled engineered dysfunction via the trade blockade that is preventing them from having the resources to sustain themselves until they are low enough or have a big enough dysfunction that the group can surround them again and feel like they are in control of the situation. And now, this sounds horrible. This is absolutely disgusting, right? This is wrong. The way it's said, the way it is, we know this is wrong. So how does the group of dysfunctional cells try to get away with doing it despite it being wrong, right? Well, this is how. You make it seem as if it's acceptable. In my case, I can say it like this. Snitch chasing, in which I was recently offered a job, and I explained before I was going to go to that job exactly what it was, what you all were doing, and so the job had it that I would have to, especially for the first week, walk 2 hours to and from work, or have to play a game of getting a ride, and then it would be my fault the day that I didn't show up on time, right? And all that stuff, right? So what this is called is snitch chasing. It's pretty much whenever you can't directly get away with causing or engineering a cell a dysfunction to control them with. So instead, you give them the trade, but they have to reach out so far that the cost to benefit ratio is one-sided. It's on their side, and therefore they are losing gradually over time as they accept this handout that's so far that they have to reach out more than they actually can for a long extension of time. And so what this does is it's sort of like passing a ball around. Here, make him go this way now. Here, make him go this way now. Here, make him go this way right now. Here, and it exhausts the cell until eventually that cell, by lacking the energy to maintain the trade, it is then said that they are the ones that are being dysfunctional by not being willing to keep working or not being willing to keep up what was designed to exhaust them until they failed, right? And so you're caught. I want you to know that this is not an argument. You're caught. There's no argument to have here. We're not discussing. It's not a debate. You're caught. I already know what this is. Okay, so one might wonder, how can an individual in this situation survive what is happening to them? Well, first, we can say that if the individual maintains healthy, basic, functional behavior, then they will outlast the environment no matter how bad it gets for them, right? And so we can say that whatever the group does onto the individual, the environment will follow up on doing to the group. And we can say this is true because the better that this individual functions, the better that they are behaving, the better that they are effective, the better that they cause this insecurity and controlled dysfunction towards in others, the more that we can say that their behaviors represent the best possible outcome for the environment to be. Meaning, somehow, following those rules, oh, it just space changed me. Following those rules are whatever rules it's following are whatever existence requires in order for a healthy, stable environment. And so it represented those rules being followed. And so whatever the environment does to what literally represents the best possible environment outcome, is pretty much how these individuals responded to reality. That's how they responded to the best possible environment. Whatever the environment demands from them to be healthy, this is how they responded to the idea of doing those things. And so the question is, if you can do this to someone, why can someone, or for instance, the environment, not do it to you? Now, we've seen this in the past. I was not as aware of it as I am now, but we've seen this in the past, right? So I go off, I stay struggling. It stays looking like it's almost the end for me every time, but then something saves my life simply because you guys have no other route to go for your continued survival. And right now we're really in a 25-75 probability. 25 being that you guys just decide to say fuck it and just go ahead and kill me even though it's wrong. Or 75 in which you guys just suck it up and say, fine, fuck, damn, all right, fuck, you're right. And just kind of like accept, because you know what this is right now. Like, a lot of you started this fight with me believing that you had a clear path of like eliminatable murder without consequences. You were wrong, but you don't want to feel like a bitch after the things that you've done. So you refuse to give up. And so now we're at a 25-75 probability in which you could just say, fuck it, I want to see what happens and kill me. Or you could say, nah, you got it, bro. Fuck, bro, I'm scared, all that shit, right? And so here's what happens. As the environment measures your response to literally the best representation that you have of it being healthy, the healthy environment then knows exactly what response it needs to give you. And then I get taken care of somehow. Life changes for me, as it always does. It's my job at this point. And so it spaces everyone out. The environment becomes harder. It spaces everyone. It says, you all saw this was effective. You all saw this was working. Why did you attack it instead of doing it? It spreads everyone out. And what it does by spreading everyone out is it prevents the group from being able to calcify with one another, and sort of buffing themselves against the consequences of the environment by spreading it out over a surface area amongst themselves. It spreads them out first. It spreads them out, and as it spreads them out, it's not just going to eliminate them. It's going to give them the opportunity. It's going to say, no, you saw that. This is right. Are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? You saw that. This is right. You're not, you're too old. Are you going to do this or are you not going to do it? And if you don't do it, it says, okay, fuck you then. Fuck you then. All right, are you going to do it or are you not going to do it? Okay, you're not going to do it? All right, fuck you then. And after a couple of those, more people are going to be willing to do it. More people are going to be willing to be healthy because they did not choose to do so when there weren't consequences. So, yeah. I don't feel sorry because the same kind of human decency that you're asking me to have towards you, you have not had towards me this entire time, unless you were literally going to be killed for it by something that you couldn't understand. So I'm just like the messenger at this point. You can kill the messenger. I'm pretty sure I'll be fine, even if you, like, literally, even if you kill me, I'm pretty sure I'll be fine. I don't think you will. And there it is again, shaking, see? So that's the scene right there. That's what's going on. All right, that was fun. Doing all this work today was, I love that. That was such a good experience.